West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, and it's literally a little quick video here, looking at the long overdue video, looking at the Breakout League, which is obviously some of you will watch this and go, Breakout League? That was weeks ago. Why are you only doing a video now looking at the Breakout League? And I think it's kind of a twofold thing. It's a twofold thing. I think when the Breakout League happened, I just didn't have the time to really... Sorry, when it ended, I should say. I didn't really have the time to record something on it. I'd kind of taken my notes down on it, but it just didn't really fit with any schedule of recording. And also, I think I didn't want to fall into that trap of content for the sake of content. Sometimes you just got to wait. Sometimes you got to wait and just hold your peace and, you know, assess things for a little bit longer before you kind of pontificate whatever it is that you want to pontificate on. And I just didn't feel at the time that the Breakout League warranted a major think piece, whether written, whether visual like this or audio visual like this. I didn't think it was just there. And I don't mean that as a criticism. That's by no means a criticism for all the players that took part. It's not a criticism on Cricket West Indies and the organisation, CPO, etc. The Breakout League was, and I hope continues to be, an essential part of wider development in West Indies cricket. I hope that what happens with the Breakout League is it plays an integral part in West Indian cricket development in the same way that the West Indies Academy is essentially playing that role. And big up West Indies Academy. Obviously, right now they're embroiled in their first game against, I think, first test 4-day game against the Sri Lanka emerging players side, right? And I've always kind of been of the opinion that the day-to-day critique of West Indies men's and women's senior team performances, you can only go so far with it before you have to acknowledge, and some of us are in a better place than others in terms of acknowledging this. If we genuinely want West Indies cricket to improve, then things like the West Indies Academy, things like the Breakout League, we're going to have to wait for them to marinate and hopefully bear fruit. We already know that the existing developmental systems that have essentially borne the last 20 years worth of talent isn't fit for purpose. Like if we are all serious and we all take a moment to properly take stock and stop doing clickbait reactionism and stop doing hot takes via social media and think pieces, if we all just take a moment to breathe, step back, analyze the surroundings, current developmental systems that have existed since the 80s, 90s, whatever, they're not fit for purpose. Coaching standards, not fit for purpose. Territorial boards, not fit for purpose. If we all accept that, then trying to expect world-class performances from our men's senior side, women's senior sides, A teams and all of that, will get them every now and again, but expecting consistency is an absolute misnomer. And actually, it's got to a point now where we're privately, oh my God, listen to my phone just ringing. Hold on, people. There's a madness going on. I have to do. See what I mean? This is how you know things like this are live. Let me pause this and try keep going. One sec. Such are the wonders of recording via StreamYard that I think I just paused that and it's continued seamlessly. If it didn't, and you just witnessed like a 15-second pause for no reason, well, boys, Caribbean Cricket Podcast, we don't do things professionally all the time. But anyways, as I was saying, like at some points you have to kind of look inwards at the fan base and say, you are the ones who are unrealistic. You are the ones that are impatient and trying to expect performances better than the raw materials suggests that you aren't seeing the cricket for what it is, right? And that's not a doom and gloom thing. For me, that's just basic facts, right? So all of that notwithstanding, the reason why I brought out the Breakout League video now is because West Indies men's senior side, are currently in the midst of, and by the time this comes out, it'll be a few hours away from the second T20 international against England. The tour of England, both on the men's and women's side, has been, I don't want to say, is horrendous too strong a word? Basically, we've got no W's. The women lost 3-0 in the T20s, lost 3-0 in the ODIs, as I predicted, as I suspected. That's no big shame. That's totally what I expected to happen. The men lost 3-0 in the ODIs and are currently 1-0 down in the T20s and could easily, like the women, leave England without 1 W. I'd love to believe that we can get at least a 1 W in the T20s. But given we're playing the T20s right now, I thought, let me go back and look at the Breakout League. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it quite simplistic. I'm not going to do like some full-length analysis. All of those watching this, get at me in the comments below. What did you think about the Breakout League? I don't want you to answer if you think it was fit for purpose. I don't think that's the question we should be answering. Were you encouraged? I think that's what you really need to ask yourself. Were you encouraged on the whole by the Breakout League? Did you see enough talented players, not to immediately get into any West Indies team, but did you see enough talented players that makes you think, okay, let's persist with this thing, and hopefully over the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, we might get a 1, 2, 3 man who can jump to international level. I'm going to jump straight off. I'm going to just say it straight from the jump. Did I see any player from the Breakout League this season that should be playing international cricket for the West Indies anytime, men's senior team anytime soon? No, I did not. That's not to say I'm right. People watching this, you may have seen someone who you think, yes, I'd love to experiment with them in the West Indies men's T20. We're talking about T20 only, people. In the West Indies men's T20 side sooner rather than later. Bear in mind, we've got a World Cup coming up next year. So I'm not looking at the Breakout League as any kind of stepping stone prior to the World Cup in 2026. I'm looking at the Breakout League purely in the context of a stepping stone, first and foremost, to hopefully giving some of these standout players a bit more of a more important role in CPL. That's the first graduated step. And provided they get a more important role in this year's CPL, maybe then we can start to have conversations about, does this player have the capacity to maybe one day play T20 international cricket for the West Indies? So what I'll do is I'll give you the, should I even go there? Just thinking. Actually, before we go to the individual players, just some of the things I noticed in general about the Breakout League. In terms of the overall quality of the games, 5 out of 10. If we're going to average across the tournament, I think it was about a 5 out of 10. There weren't too many games that made me really turn my head and say, oh, that's brilliant as a collective. There was a few individual performances where it's like, oh, that's really good. Like Nathan Edward, I think, took a 5 for us. Like, oh, that's really good. Jadea Blades was good up front. Oh, that's really good. There were like bits and pieces, but overall, as a tournament, was it good? It was distinctly average. 5 out of 10 in that regard. There still wasn't for me enough signs of guys who could go consistently at what I'd consider an international level strike rate. There was the odd 1 or 2 performances, but there wasn't enough consistency in those level of performances with the bat. There's a few promising young leg spin performances. Obviously, leg spinners had to play a significant majority of the match and had to bowl a significant allocation of their overs. So there's a few performances from some of the leg spinners where it's like, okay, that's worth keeping an eye on. But again, everything with West Indies cricket, you always have to kind of caveat it with, are the bowlers bowling well or are the batters down bad? And you always have to try and strike the balance between where are we at the moment in terms of bowler quotient versus batting ability. So there was that to consider as well. There's a few down bad collapses in general. But like I say, on the whole, it was a distinctly average tournament. So all I really wanted to do with this video was just look at the top performers and say, did we see anything to warrant us keeping an eye on? Remember, 18 players from this year's Breakout League are supposed to get contracts. I think it's minimum 18 are supposed to get contracts in this year's CPL. So that's why I'm focusing on the standout performance by stats. So first things first, let's look at who scored the most runs. And obviously that is also skewered by the fact that some teams went further than others, but it's still most runs. So Kofi James topped the run charts with 240 runs. Kevlin Anderson second with 227. Johan Jeremiah third with 203. Josh De Silva fourth with 161. Alec Athanaze fifth with 160. Did I see anything from any of those five that made me think, yep, you've got a potential West Indies T20 future coming up in the near future? No. If anything, Alec Athanaze coming fifth. I didn't even think Alec Athanaze had that strong a tournament, and he came fifth, right? Which may speak again to what I'm talking about, the general average nature of the tournament. Of that five, Kofi James looked like the one most equipped to understand the modern demands of T20 cricket. And what I mean by that is he was the one most equipped to fulfill the specific role that he was given when you transpose it across to international cricket. Let me explain a bit further if you don't understand. Kofi James was given the job of opening, right? When you open in T20 cricket, you are expected to maximize the power play. That's why Kofi James finished as the top run scorer, because he played most suited to the role he was given. Now, some might say to me, no, Mash, what about Kevlin Anderson? Yeah, Kevlin Anderson accumulated some runs, but I think when you look at his overall strike rate, it wasn't anything to write home about. It wasn't what I call a top level strike rate. He went at more than a run a ball, but it was the type of innings. His innings were the type of innings where it's like, okay, you're going at 120. That's not moving me. That's not setting, and that's not to discredit his performances. But we're talking about projecting further forward. Kevlon needs some more T20 games in his bank to work on his wider shot selection and skill set in this format of the game. Yeah, there's some early signs, but there was nothing really there to move me to project further into international T20 cricket. Josh was better than expected. I think people have always seen Josh as a bit more of a nudger and a nerdler and a gritty fighter because of his test match experience and first class experience. But what I more saw with Josh's innings in this breakout league was, I wonder if people ever reconsider Josh for ODI cricket. That's more what was going through my head. I'm not saying he gets into our ODI team. There's no way Josh gets in ahead of Carty, Hope, Rutherford, who's currently number 6, Graves, etc. But what I more so saw from Josh in this year's T20 in the breakout league was more that Josh might be someone you think about in ODI cricket at some point. Some of you are going to laugh about that, but that was more one from my head. Johan Jeremiah, yeah, okay, he's been doing bits and pieces across all formats now for a couple of years. But again, I need to see another year of him probably in the breakout league before I make any big pronouncements. Most wickets. Micah McKenzie first with 12, Jadea Blade second with 10, Naveen Badesi third with 10, Mahasi from playing for Leeward Islands 10, Ryan John 9. The top three moved me. The top three definitely moved me in some capacity. Micah McKenzie, I've heard quite bits and pieces now, particularly within kind of like the agent sphere and a few keen observers of West Indies cricket, that he's one to look out for. Yeah, okay, I'll accept that. But what is he? He's 19, I think he is. Let's not jump the gun here. I saw bits and pieces in this year's tournament. I thought, you've got a bit of leg spin ability. Obviously, West Indies are looking for a leg spinner. It looks like we've decided at the international level that the experimentation with Hayden Walsh Jr. and Yannick Karaya is over, and that they've ultimately decided you aren't of international level, to the point where when we look at spin at the international men's level, we now just use Chase, Multi, Akil Hussain, right? We don't even think about using leg spinner because we don't believe that the current leg spinners that we've got at the senior men's level can move the dial in any shape or form. So we have to find a youngster from somewhere. However, it would be foolish to look at Micah McKenzie and go, yeah, he's the one. Let's let him get more reps in. Obviously, he'll get a CPL deal. Hopefully, he'll play a 1-2 games. That's a significant step up for him. Let's see how he goes with that. Next year's Breakout League, and then we go again. But it was good to see him at the top of the wicket charts. He had definitely some aspects to his bowling that added a level of intrigue, a bit of dip, a bit of flight. Looks like he's got a mature head on his shoulders, but this is just a one tournament. Let's not jump the gun on him. Judea Blades, Judea Blades now is showing across all formats of cricket in the last 12 months that he clearly has ability. And now it makes complete sense why Sammy and Cole were so eager to give him a debut in the ODI series against Bangladesh at the back end of 2024. Judea Blades has now produced in first-class cricket, Super 50, and now the Breakout League. And because he offers left-arm seam, and because he gets early movement up front, I can see why he's on the radar. Of all the players in the tournament, Judea Blades is the one for me who I can see playing international cricket within 12 months. Again, now obviously he's had his debut, but I can see him playing international cricket within 12 months. If Obed McCoy cannot get fit and stay fit and perform regularly, I can see how Judea Blades may well end up, not before the World Cup, but within 12 months. So that gives us till, 18 months. Between now and the end of 2026, I can see Judea Blades playing international cricket again. So he actually is one of the few who gets on my list where I'm like, okay, I see something. Similar to Kofi James, I see something. I can see how you may play a role in the near future. But Dacey, obviously, he performed with bat and ball across the tournament. Let's see how we go. I liked Badesi. I really like the look of Badesi. He was the definition of someone who's like, I'm going to seize this opportunity. I now need to see how he goes in CPL. Let's see which franchise picks him up in CPL, and I want to see how he goes in it. I think there was some stuff from Badesi there. I liked the look of it. Again, too early to say can he jump to international standards, but there was enough in his all-round performances. I want to take a keener look at him, and hopefully, again, like Mackenzie, when he gets the CPL deal, hopefully he actually plays some games, because this is the worry I've got. Yes, the CPL sides have to. Give 18 people a contract minimum, but that don't mean that 18 people are going to play. So let's hopefully see. You would think that TKR would be the ones to get Badesi, but if TKR get Badesi, I can see how Badesi don't even play many games. Hopefully one of them franchises, whether it be St. Kitts or whatever, one of the weaker franchises, Antigua Falcons, hopefully it's one of them that get him the contract, because then, hold on, I can tell my daughter's trying to come in the room. I'm gonna have to pause this video one more time. The beauty of StreamYard being able to stop and start. I wonder how this is going to come across when it's actually recorded. I can't even remember what it's talking about. Oh yeah, but Badesi hopefully gets a contract with one of those rubbish franchises, which means he'll play more games. A couple more stats I just want to look at. So most sixes, obviously this is from the Cricket West Indies website. Most sixes, Kofi James first with 16, Jeremiah second with 11, Shakir Paris third with 10, Athenaeus 9, Josh De Silva 9. Again, Shakir Paris, in fairness, played CPL with a bit of distinction last year. So possibly people should be saying to me, okay, Mash, just because Shakir Paris didn't end in the top 5 run scorers, he's someone you should have your eye on, because he's already put some performances in other formats of cricket. I think he just played the A-team series as well against South Africa A, the 50-over version, played some Super 50, played CPL last year. So I hear you. Paris, in fairness, should be on that next rung of youngsters that we're keeping an eye on. So I hear that with Shakir. But again, Kofi James with the most sixes goes back to my point earlier on about understanding the assignment and maximizing the power play. This is why I can see Kofi James potentially being on the international radar within 18 months, because he showed in the Breakout League he understood the assignment. Last year's CPL, where was he at again? Was it Antigua or was it St. Kitts? It was one of those two. And they tried him at the top, I think, a few times. It didn't always work out, but hopefully whichever franchise picks him up this year saw his performances at the top in Breakout League and gives him another chance there, because he understands the role. It won't always come off, but he can only improve if you give him more opportunities in that role. Final few stuff. Best individual scores. So Jeremiah 97, Athenaeus 91, Paris, sorry, 91 not out for Athenaeus, 85 not out for Paris, 85 not out for Cheyenne Brathwaite, and 73 for Camille Puran. Don't really want to say too much about that. I've spoken about Joanne Jeremiah. Should Joanne Jeremiah have been in the A-team squad against South Africa? And that's another question for another day. Did we drop the ball there? It kind of feels like Jeremiah's career, this sounds harsh, but it feels like it's in a bit of a stagnant hold pattern. Like, if he's not in the A-team team that just played South Africa, what's next for someone like a Joanne Jeremiah? Does he try to get onto the C-level T20 franchise circuit? Like, how's he going to be able to take his game forward? Now, some of you might say, Machel takes his game forward by putting in more performances. It's just got to be consistency. Runs, gets your named mention. Simple as. That's the currency he's got to cash in. Don't know. Let me know in the comments below. And finally, best bowling performances. Nathan Edward, 5 for 27. Mahasi, 4 for 10. Latif, 4 for 25. Mackenzie, 4 for 25. Daryl Cyrus, 4 for 37. Leaving out Nathan Edwards' 5 for, which was really good. Big up the youth man. I am significantly worried by the next 4 best bowling figures. Mahasi, 4 for 10. Latif, 4 for 25. Mackenzie, 4 for 25. Cyrus, 4 for 37. All leg spinners. This goes back to that point I said earlier. Where is the line between strong bowling performances and shit batting technique? When 4 out of the 5 best bowling figures are from leg spinners, I am more inclined to say that's because we have a batting situation and crisis in the region, and that when we face a certain type of bowling, no matter how talented you are as a batter, there are certain types of bowling in the region which is kryptonite to West Indian batters, and it's leg spin. Look what Adil Rashid just did to our international men's side. Every single time Adil Rashid has come on in both the ODI series and currently in the T20 series, you can tell a wicket's coming, because you can tell that at the top level, international level, we can't even cope with leg spin at the top level for international men's side. And that type of stuff trickles all the way down to the grassroots. 4 out of the top 5 best bowling figures are from leg spinners. And none of those leg spinners, with respect to them, and I even include Daryl Cyrus in there, who's more experienced than the other 3. Latif's like an 18-year-old youth man. Mackenzie's a 19-year-old youth man. Mahasi, I think, is 19 or 20 himself. How are the youth men just laying down a bunch of batters where there were some established batters in the Breakout League, at least at the regional level? And it just speaks to weaker or weak techniques within the region, particularly facing any kind of leg spin and any kind of spin bowling that might turn. And you see it all the way up to the international men's level. But like I say, people, that's just a little quick synopsis and breakdown of the Breakout League. I'm not getting too excited. Let's hope that it continues next year and the year after that. I want to see at least 5 years of the Breakout League, because like I said at the top, West Indies cricket, you're just going to have to get used to L's at the senior level, men and women's, whenever we play top level teams, and accept that we can't change anything at the top level till we continue to do things like Breakout League and invest at the lower levels and find a way to bridge the divide that our senior men's and senior women's are facing when they come to the top tier international level. Players need more cricket. That's what the Breakout League offered. It offers more developmental opportunities. It offers us a chance to look at and identify the 1 or 2 talented youth men within the region. The next stage after that is, what's the developmental plan? Because it's easy to identify. I just went through the stats. It's easy to identify what's the developmental plan. And yes, every man should take responsibility as well for their own development and work hard off the pitch, on the pitch, etc. But what's the developmental plan? How do we plan to bridge the divide once we've found the talent? I'll be Machel St. Patrick here, one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. As ever, you can subscribe to Caribbean Cricket Podcast on YouTube and all the social media platforms. Like, share, and subscribe to this video. Find us on all social media handles. Just search Caribbean Cricket Podcast. You can find us. X, Instagram, YouTube, Blue Sky, Facebook, Discord. We're everywhere. Roll to 13K, all of that. And of course, if you want to support financially, you can use the super chat, super thanks button on super stickers, whatever it is on YouTube. That would be super handy. But if you want to become a patron, which we always push and encourage people to do so, go to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. Every little bit helps and counts to growing the platform and keeping us going. In terms of what's coming, what's happening in the near future, people, believe it or not, yesterday I booked to go to Northern Ireland, Belfast, or Derry, I should say. So I will be in Northern Ireland for the final 2 games of this tour, the second and third T20 internationals at Brady. So content can't stop, won't stop. I'll be in Northern Ireland for the last 2 games, and then this tour of UK and Ireland will officially be over. So I'll see you a lot very, very soon from foreign climes. I'll be Machel St. Patrick Hewitt. Like I say, like, share, and subscribe on the way out, and see you all very, very soon.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.